And please welcome Tobias and Olivia from Accenture. There you go. I'll pop down this.
Thank you so much for welcoming us up on stage. And thank you so much for being here today. It's fantastic to have had the discussions I've just had. And just to summarize a little bit on where we are, we see that the current situation that we are in, with new experiences, with a shift from the COVID situation, and we see a downturn in the economy coming within the upcoming year, that is putting a totally new shift on the retail industry. We have to rethink how we use our virtual and physical stores. And this is putting a totally new pressure and demand on our physical spaces. On stage today is me, Tobias Henriksson. I am Future Tech Lead in Europe. And together with me, I have my rockstar colleague within the retail space and future of store, Olivia Johansson. And we are working across Europe with just this topic. How do we use technology to enable the future of retail?
Great. So as Tobias mentioned, the role of the store is changing. And there are, of course, many different explanations to why this is happening. Just reflecting about what trends and global drivers that has affected the world the past decade, we have seen that the pandemic brought the retail industry forward by many years. And as a result, more customers than ever, even the ones that was previously quite resistant, are nowadays shopping online. And for retailers, but also for property owners, this is putting a completely new demand where retailers and property owners needs to move beyond traditional ways of designing stores. Where stores used to be designed to only focusing on optimized foot traffic, and retailers were rolling out the same kinds of store concept everywhere to instead develop this broader store portfolio that is more digital by leveraging technologies, merge the online and offline, and really find these digital interactions with the customers. More real, to enrich the in-store experiences and find these personalized experiences for the customers. And more purpose-driven, to add value and stay connected throughout the full customer journey and find the key moments that matters for your customers and add value towards them. To help retailers accelerate, Accenture has developed a new innovative store concept, which we call the Store of Tomorrow. And to achieve the Store of Tomorrow, we say that retailers need to combine 6 key ingredients. Depending on the retail sector, if it is fashion, grocery, or even beauty, its local demands, and of course, its customer needs. Looking on these key ingredients, we have, for example, an integrated customer experience, where retailers uses data to get a better understanding of who their customers actually are, and to be able to personalize the experience around them. We also have real-time retail data on the edge, where retailers leveraging the power of distributing edge computing by providing personalized product recommendations through interactive screens while the customers moves around in the store. And lastly, we have data-driven decision-making, where we position the customer at the center of the store by, for example, using in-store connectivity, AI, or even machine learning to get insights and to fuel decisions. And as you can see, there are a lot of other ingredients. And if you're curious to read more about them, I really encourage you to scan the QR code here to come to our report.
That I am blocking.
That you are blocking. But the key is, if retailers manage to combine these key ingredients in a good way, they will be able to get more personalized experience. They can drive omni-channel synergies, and they can also optimize operation cost through, for example, sharing of infrastructure fulfillment center. But I think I will stop there, and maybe we can become a little bit more concrete on how this can take shape.
Yes, and 5G, of course.
I mentioned that one.
Retailers are combining different spaces. And we see 3 key zones that we are now merging. Depending on which retailer you are and which experience you want, you are kind of exploring these in a digital set or in a physical set. But it really comes down to 3 key zones. How do we inspire our customers? Where is the place where you can experience the assortment? Where is the place where you have fun things? We see the emerging tech of like new digital spaces where you can actually have holograms. You can have ongoing fashion shows in your stores. We see the next place, the zone to buy. If you know what you have today, you're probably buying online, which you didn't do a few years ago. You might go to a store to test and be inspired, or you do it in a digital space. But then it comes to the buy. Where do you find the product that you need? How do you shop for that? How do you check it out? And then it comes to the place to supply. Because in order to supply an omni-demand, you need to rethink how you're putting your supply chain in center. Where do you have your warehouses, your fulfillment center in cities? How do you actually shape these? And who is actually owning that fulfillment center in order to do the last mile delivery, which is becoming a critical point in the supply chain? To at least go in a little bit, and I would like to emphasize a few of these zones that are now coming into place. The experience zone is really a playground for the experiences. This is where you test your brand, your concept. You often have more of the new type of digital tech. We heard earlier how you can use virtual elements. VR, AR are coming into place. And I think the presentation that we just now got is basically saying, how can you leverage this zone to actually inspire your customers by local communities, ongoing fashion shows, or stuff like that? And this is already happening in some type of stage.
It does. So we have 2 cool examples for exemplifying this zone. So starting off with Nespresso, they have developed a new store concept that is inspired by coffee as an art form. And within this store, consumers are encouraged to engage with coffee specialists to get coffee learning tastings or machine demonstrations. And consumers can also design their own coffee receipt with use of iPad tutorials, and to what they call ensure a truly omni-channel experience. They also offering augmented reality where consumers can engage with top management of espresso and also coffee farmers to find about the expertise and history of Nespresso. And the other example is actually one of my favorite examples. That is L'Oréal Paris store in Shanghai, which is called the House of Worth. And it's inspired by this famous marketing campaign, Because You're Worth It. And within this store, consumers can watch live streams. They can take a bike ride through the streets of Paris and collect loyalty rewards. But they can also, with use of technology, do skin analysis and get personalized recommendation of what kinds of product they should buy. And these products are later put in a digital basket where they can easily check it out and by purchasing it directly in their mobile phone, for example. But they can also get it home delivered anywhere in China. But speaking about products and purchases, that naturally leads me into the next zone, which is the product zone. And this is the zone where retailers uses digital elements and digital interactions to really visualize the products in the best way. And normally when customers enter in this zone, they already know what they would like to buy because they have been inspired in the previous zone. So as you can see on the picture here, we're both visualizing the real products, but we are also using, for example, iPads or some QR codes to free out space in the stores. So if you decide that you want to buy something that you cannot find here, you can easily scan the QR code. And with connectivity, perhaps 5G, and of course also an integrated dark store, they can easily retrieve the products when they have bought it. Do we have any cool example here?
We have. And basically what we're saying is that if you take what you think about this zone today with products, you think about the physical jacket, right? Or the physical car. But suddenly you don't need that kind of space. You don't need a space for 1,000 cars. You can have one space for 1,000 cars. That's what Porsche has been testing in the Munich department store. Suddenly they put up a virtual copy of their Porsche car. You could suddenly configure it. You could change color. You can even choose the model in the end, maybe. So basically the question that we have here was, what is happening to the physical space here? The physical space in order to see the products, in order to understand the products, suddenly shrunk. From how much to where? You can only imagine. So this is how they are exploring. The same goes for H&M. They are testing these kind of new smart mirrors, as they call it, if you have seen the latest launch. So while we sit in the store in New York on Fifth Avenue, you can walk in with an item, just a jacket. Suddenly you can see on your mirror, is it available here in another store? Do you have other colors? I can order it directly and get a new kind of color from the back of house into the fitting room. So suddenly, the COS store didn't need to have all the assortment with all the sizes in front. They could suddenly shrink the number of items in front of house for you as a customer, but they can be much more efficient in the back end, keeping together the back of house. So suddenly, the back of house became the center. If you want to fulfill Omni, if you want to fulfill a store, how do? You often take something and then you pull it out and you need to drive the cars in and out of the showrooms, etc. A few of them have looked at how can we actually make the fulfillment zone and the supply zone much more automated, taking away the manual tasks that is needed in order to actually fulfill these kind of areas. And there are a few that have also been working on this. We see that Amazon is now launching their new automated system. This system can handle over 1 million diverse products. 1 million diverse products. Suddenly, you as a property owner can think about how can I make a fulfillment zone in my property that can suddenly give the end of supply chain to all my retailers in my space. Does each of the retailers like H&M, Amazon, Elgiganten, do they need to have their own fulfillment center? Or can a property owner actually put that as a service? The same goes for ICA and Mathem. Locally here we see the adaptation of automated backends. They are trying out new kind of concepts in order to serve these kind of omni-channel experiences as well. So really trying to identify how can I manage these kind of zone in a good way in order to fulfill either directly to the home to my customers that they buy from one of the iPads or the smart mirror that we saw, or directly based on your application and what you have seen there. Or maybe, even as we talked about last week, from a metaverse place where Nike example is doing that. But moving on. How can this be enabled? We talked about it a little bit earlier, but each of these zones have their own kind of technology, their own type of demands that is putting into them. And if you see here, we see a lot of the immersive experiences, the virtual shopping coming into play, where 5G and connectivity will be a key one. And how can you build an infrastructure, connectivity infrastructure, for all of these heavy areas in order to be efficient, in order to not upgrade infrastructure over time? But also, if you think about this, how can you use this outside these spaces? We saw an example from Tommy Hilfiger trying that you just put an ordinary container in the middle of the street. Suddenly you had a space. You put on a VR glasses and when you walk in, you have a fully fledged store within this space. So suddenly the purpose and what really means to have a physical space is changing, because the physical space suddenly is adaptable. So we see these new type of stores becoming the reality. It's not a store or a space that is just physical, where you have dead items like the jackets or the cars or the groceries. We see a space where we have tons of technology, measuring, understanding, adapting according to the behaviors that our customers are taking. And this will be the new reality. And as a property owner, how do we then build these kind of spaces? Because we need to think through, what is the strategy for our customers? What do they want in their properties? How adaptable or not are they? How will they fulfill Omni and understand their customers? How can we support them in getting the data when we are walking around in malls or similar places, in who the customer is and what they are trying on or want to buy? And the same goes with the products and services that we offer. Will they be offered in your physical space, or will these kind of retailers actually offer them online and through another type of channel? And also, in the end, the technologies that we are now putting in place that will enhance the customer experience and increase the profitability of these kind of stores. How do you build an ecosystem and a connectivity layer and a tech layer that actually can enable that? And will you be the ones that are actually building that as a service for them? I think we are over time, at least it says so here on the screen. So with that, we would like to thank you. And what do you want to give away as a last statement for them, Olivia?
Amanda Gorman, who is a famous poet, she said during her New Year's speech, "Let us not return to what was normal, instead reach towards what is next." And I think that I can speak for both of us, Tobias. We really hope that the 5G can become an enabler towards what is next. Thank you.
Thank you.